John Farrell with the Farrell Law Firm. Today we're going to give you an update on the Hunter Biden gun trial and discuss opening statements and the first set of witnesses from day 3. But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We put out new videos almost every day, and make sure you hit the like button because, hey, every like helps. Today we're going to give you an update on the Hunter Biden gun trial and discuss opening statements and the first set of witnesses from day 3. As you may know, President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is on trial in Delaware on 3 felony charges related to his efforts to obtain a firearm in 2018. Yesterday, we posted a video on how a juror was dismissed on the eve of opening statements, and you can check out that video by clicking the link above. Opening statements started yesterday, and the prosecution told jurors that they shouldn't treat Hunter Biden any differently than other people. Just because he's the son of a sitting U.S. president and that the First Lady of the United States routinely sits behind him, he's just like everyone else. The prosecutor furthered this point by telling the jurors that nobody is above the law. I always find that phrase interesting because they always forget to say the second part of that phrase. Do you know what it is? The phrase goes, nobody's above the law, but nobody's beneath it either. In their opening statements, the defense tried to poke holes in the prosecution's case by telling jurors that Hunter Biden wasn't actively using drugs at the time he purchased the gun and therefore did not knowingly lie on the form to purchase it. They also attempted to shift some of the blame from the purchase of the gun to the owners and employees of the gun store. The first witness called by the prosecution is an FBI agent who introduced several chapters of Hunter Biden's memoir to show evidence he was addicted and using drugs at the time of the gun purchase, but the defense attorney attempted to discredit that by highlighting the book doesn't discuss specific drug use at the time of the gun purchase. The defense attorney also tried to point the jury away from drug addiction to alcohol addiction, which isn't on the form to purchase the gun. The defense attorney argues, therefore, that a drunk person could still purchase a gun, implying that Hunter was an alcoholic instead of a drug addict at the time of the purchase. The FBI agent also introduced several text messages from Hunter Biden in an attempt to show he was a drug addict at the time of the purchase. The prosecution also introduced evidence of high cash withdrawals around the time of the gun purchase. While the defense tried to discredit the notion that the cash was used to buy drugs, the prosecution argued that drug dealers tend to prefer cash transactions. Hunter Biden's ex-wife was also called to the stand, and she testified about his drug use. Ultimately, it appeared she could only testify as to finding evidence of his drug use, as the defense attorney had her admit she never actually saw him use drugs. Next on the stand was Hunter Biden's ex-girlfriend, who was working at a strip club at the time she met Hunter Biden, which was at said strip club. She testified she saw Hunter Biden smoke crack many times over at different locations and even helped him get drugs. However, the defense was able to get her to admit she didn't see him use drugs during the time in question, which is at the time of the purchase of the gun. Next was a gun store employee who testified about being there when Hunter Biden bought the gun. As evidence, the prosecution gave him the actual gun bought by Hunter Biden and asked him to read off the serial number of the gun. This was so they could identify it as the actual gun bought by Hunter Biden. He also testified that he watched Hunter fill out the form and mark no where it asked if he was a drug user. He testified that he told Hunter to take his time so he wouldn't make any mistakes on the form. He further testified that Hunter bought the gun with cash. The defense cross-examined the gun store employee, painting him as someone who could sell pricey guns to people, which the employee seemed to embrace. The reason the defense is making an issue of that is because in opening statements, the defense indicated the jury would hear evidence that the gun store pushed the gun on Hunter and that he actually wasn't in the area to buy a gun, but rather visit a cell phone store. At the end of day 3, the prosecution indicated they would most likely rest their case at the end of Thursday's testimony, as the rest of their witnesses were going to present less evidence and therefore go quicker. The defense indicated if that were the case, they would present their first witness on Friday morning. The trial will resume on Thursday with further cross-examination of the gun store employee. Alright, that's all we have for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we put out new videos almost every day, and make sure you hit the like button because, hey, every like helps.